Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is Friday, July 9th, 2021. My name is Aubrey and this is my video for the new moon in Cancer lunar cycle that begins today. And for all of those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. I do daily astrological energetic updates to help us navigate through the energetics and the crazy times that we're in. I also do 12 sign by sign weekly forecasts to help you know how these energetics will be specifically affecting you. And of course, I do highlight videos for the full and the new moons each month to understand what's going on with our lunar cycles. So if you guys want more of this content, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And without further ado, let me talk about the energetics that we have going on today. Actually, tonight, 9:16 p.m. is the time when this new moon will be exact, and it is at 19 degrees of Cancer. So first of all, we are getting a soul and spiritual healing with this lunar cycle generally, as the masculine and feminine principles unite within us individually and collectively to really finish a process that began on January 29th of 2021 and was activated also by the new moon in Aries, April 11th this year. So it has been a significant theme of this entire year. And with this Cancer cycle, it's really calling us to find and nurture our inner needs so that we can heal, transform, and step into the light. Relationships and finances may undergo shocking changes this cycle, and upheavals and things just sort of happening out of the blue, happening out of nowhere. But the purpose of this is to remove things that are out of alignment with our own authentic truth and value, and help us be liberated to live and express and even come in contact with and begin to cultivate and develop our own internal truth and value, authentic truth and value. Okay, this cycle marks the rise and empowerment of the divine feminine, and she is supported by the divine masculine in this process, which will play out through March 2nd of 2022 and culminate in the rise of the integrated human spirit, overcoming these long-standing power structures that have been dominating and suppressing and basically feeding off of the light and the energy of the human species for a very long period of time. This is all part of our transcendence from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, and the self-empowerment and self-knowledge and true understanding that comes along with that. This cycle begins the rejoining of the feminine and masculine principles, and that it does this, and it's initiated this cycle. And we know that because we have Venus and Mars coming into a conjunction just a few days after this Cancer new moon takes place. And it's also very interesting because, as I said, the degree of the new moon in Cancer today is 19 degrees of Cancer. And that Sabian symbol, and for those of you who don't know, Sabian symbols are a major part of the astrological work that I do. What they are is a specific pictorial image that describes the frequency, resonance, vibration of each and every one of the different degrees of the zodiac. So by looking at the Sabian symbol, we can get a better understanding of what any particular planet is doing and the purpose for which these aspects are going on. So I always like to pay attention to the Sabian symbols. And the Sabian symbol for this new moon in Cancer is 19 degrees of Cancer. That is a priest performing a marriage ceremony. And I find this to be extremely ironic considering the fact that Mars and Venus are in a 2-degree orb conjunction for this new moon today, and will be coming into a conjunction just a few days after the beginning of this new moon. And that the divine marriage of the masculine and the feminine, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, is being spoken about through the degree of the sun at the Sabian symbol 19 Cancer. Like I said, a priest performing a marriage ceremony. And this process, the conjunction from Mars to Venus, this is taking us along a course that is ultimately going to culminate with a conjunction to Pluto, while Mars and Venus are both in conjunction and Pluto is in conjunction at the exact same degree. So we are on a process right now of, as I mentioned before, the masculine forces, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, coming together right now to go on this journey that will ultimately end with the fully integrated power of the divine masculine and the divine feminine taking down the darkness, taking down the control, stepping into their power and no longer being allowed to be dominated by the dark forces of the underworld or the power control dynamics that have held us in some type of inability to be liberated, enslaved to something in some way, in some area of our lives. And this is going to also have a lot to do with relationships, partnerships, financial situations, and a distorted view of our own internal value that we may have had up until this point in time, but is undergoing major revision right now with the square to Uranus. The square to Uranus from Venus is also almost exact today for this new moon, so that is also going to be a theme all month. But generally, we do have to remember that this is a new moon in Cancer, so this is an important cycle, and we need to be working to nurture ourselves and to mother moon, the mother archetype, our inner needs. And we also, it's interesting the degree of the earth today. The earth always opposes the sun in astrology, and so therefore the earth today is the polarity point of the new moon at 19 degrees of Cancer. So that degree, 19 Capricorn, is a child of about 5 carrying a huge shopping bag filled with groceries. So the same theme is indicated by the earth, and the earth is, it's the body, it's the substance, it's what we're grounded to, and it's telling us that we need to nurture the inner child. Metaphorically, what groceries do we need right now to nurture our inner child into becoming the inner mother, the inner parent who truly sees the authentic inner value, the authentic potential, the inner worth. And it's a maturation process that we're going through this cycle, and it really has a lot to do with us giving ourselves some really tender, loving care and nurturing in some area of our lives. And if you are wondering where this new moon is playing out for you specifically and how it might affect you throughout this cycle, I have made a video for the 12 signs and the new moon energetics and how they might affect you, and I have linked this in the description box below. So after you get done with this video, or now or whatever, if you want to see how these energetics will be affecting you specifically, you can go ahead and click that video. If you look in the description of that video, I have all the signs timestamped, so just click your sign and you can get a better idea of what area of life you really need to be focusing on this cycle, caring for yourself, nurturing to help you mature and go forward. And it's important that we go through this process now to prepare ourselves for what is coming next. Okay, so these are the general themes that this new moon in Cancer is bringing up. And now I want to go through and just talk about the aspects that are hitting and that we are experiencing alongside of this new moon. And the 3 primary aspects that I'm looking at from the new moon, there is a trine to Neptune retrograde in Pisces, there is a square to Chiron in Aries, and there is an opposition to Pluto. And none of these aspects are exact. They all are relatively loose orbs, and they're also the collective social outer planets. So there's also a sextile actually from Uranus to the new moon. So Uranus is very involved in this new moon as well, and he's also in a square to Venus. So that is sort of another thing that we have going on this side. But generally, in terms of the outer planets being affected by aspect with this new moon, we know that this is going to be affecting us collectively. Of course, individually, we are going to be experiencing the energetics as a result of these aspects forming and taking place, but they're also going to be affecting us collectively, and we will be able to see the consequences of these activations on the world stage on a collective level as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about is this trine to Neptune that we have going on from the new moon. And this is very spiritual healing. And we really, with this new moon, should be setting our intentions to receive spiritual guidance, to strengthen our intuition, to strengthen our spiritual connection, and just generally our faith and our connection to source and our ability to navigate from our own internal guidance and to use our inner compass, our internal navigation system to help us navigate the more difficult scenarios that we've been experiencing in our life. This new moon cycle is going to give our faith a boost, and it's really going to, there's a lot of divine assistance coming through with this new moon. So that is a beautiful thing, and I think that that is offering a lot of just spiritual help in abundance for us as we navigate the more difficult things that are going to be going on throughout this cycle as a result of the squares to Uranus. The next thing is that we have the new moon, like I said, in square to Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, teacher, master archetype. Chiron is all about having to experience some type of extremely painful trauma in order to have that experience. And then, though, the real point of it is to learn how to heal, learn about that experience, be able to heal that experience, and undergo this like alchemical process within the ego, within the psyche, that really evolves the soul to a higher level and helps us to become a master over whatever that in particular experience is. And then to take it a step further and become a teacher by example to other people who are on the same path and who are experiencing the same issues. So with Chiron in a square, this is an aspect of tension, and squares create conflict, but it's for the purpose of making some type of breakthrough, some type of evolution, some type of change. So this could bring up trauma or a healing crisis or wounding of some kind to be experienced over this cycle, healed, alchemized, transcended, and mastered. And we are still very much on a hero's journey this cycle. You know, I've been talking, Chiron has been aspecting a lot lately by just the position where he's at and the position of all the other planets. And really there is an aspect of a situation in all of our lives right now where we are really going through this hero's journey, this journey through the underworld, back up into the light, back up from trauma and wounding and victimhood into the masters of our own creation and our own experience and our own reality. And this is again being indicated for this new moon cycle. Chiron is in square to the new moon itself for this cycle, and Chiron also is in trine to the Venus-Uranus conjunction for this cycle. So we are going through, you know, this is a gentler new moon than the previous one in Gemini that we just had. And we are moving into calmer waters as we go through the summer. But we still, like I said, may and are in the midst of having to go through this journey. And so with all of these shocks and surprises and turbulence and just like sporadic things, shocking things going on in relationships and in finances and with partnerships and contracts and all of that type of stuff, we may be experiencing a lot of pain and wounding this cycle as well. But we do have the trine from Neptune, we do have spiritual guidance, spiritual assistance, and our faith is really our safe haven right now as we are going through this cycle. And any wounding that we do experience, it's pushing us to this point of breakthrough, to this point of understanding, healing, mastering, and then ultimately being able to guide others through our example. So this is in effect also with the square to Chiron. The next thing, we have the new moon in opposition to Pluto. So remember, this is a new moon in Cancer, and with the opposition to Pluto, this is really kind of the energy of, you know, do I stay in my shell and do I stay safe, or do I stand in my power? Do I come out and stand my ground and stand up for what I believe in and become the authority of my own situation? That's really what we're talking about with this. Pluto in Capricorn is all about our relationship to power and the power that authority figures have over us, and our own internal sense of authority and our own internal power. And with the opposition to the new moon, it really is just kind of like this polarity of like, do I stay inside? Do I stay in my shell? Do I stay where it's comfortable and I know it's safe? Or do I stand in my power now? Do I stand in my authority? Do I stand up for what I believe in? So This polarity, this dynamic may be at play as well as we go through this month and different, experiences that you're going through, really questioning whether you should stand up for yourself and be in your authentic power, or, if you need to stay in your shell, stay where it's comfortable and play it safe. So just something to be aware of, a dynamic that is also present in this energetic, but I can tell you, we are going towards standing in our authentic power, regardless of how it might feel right now, okay? And then the other thing that I want to say, we do have the new moon. I mean, it's at 8/19 Cancer. Uranus is at 15 Taurus. So there's a 4-degree orb, but we have Uranus in a sextile to the new moon. So, these shocks and surprises and like things being cut out, or coming in, or whatever is happening in relationships, business partnerships, finances, contractual agreements, that type of stuff, whatever changes are happening this cycle, it really is ultimately a part of Uranus setting things right for you somehow. Uranus is the silver lining planet. With Uranus, it throws things up in the air. It makes everything seem, super crazy, super confusing, super uncomfortable and chaotic. But then somehow it always manages to land and end up like way better than you ever could have imagined. And Uranus, I call Uranus the great rectifier, and Uranus always puts things right. And with the sextile, this is an aspect of assistance. There's also the square. Uranus is squaring Venus and Mars in conjunction. So that, it really doesn't get more specific than really shocking relationship changes, especially with Venus and Mars together. Big changes in relationships coming this cycle, but it is liberating us to be able to more authentically meet our needs in some way with Uranus in a sextile to the new moon in Cancer. All right, moving on. Let's see. Yep, I gotta talk about the Venus conjuncting Mars square Uranus, because this aspect has been in effect all week this week, and it is a major dynamic of this cycle, because for this new moon today, Venus is only 1 degree off of exact square with Uranus, and Mars is only 2 or 3 degrees off of exact square with Uranus, and Mars and Venus are in a 2-degree conjunction with each other. And so there just is this thing, and I have to talk about storms. Because of the Sabian symbols that are in effect, and also, it's very interesting also because of the degree that Mars is at and the fact that they're in square to Chiron, okay? So let me just get into the dynamic of Mars and Venus in this square, and then I will talk about the rest of the stuff that I have to say. But let's see. Mars conjuncting Venus. First of all, this is attractive power and magnetism. And like I said, this conjunction, this cycle is taking us on a voyage and carrying us through March 2nd of 2022, when we will be for sure coming to stand in our authentic power and overcoming any type of power that's being exerted upon us, that's holding us back or keeping us enslaved to something from the past that's no longer suiting our growth and our potential and our authentic value going forward. So very interesting, okay? We have Uranus today and he moved to this degree like a couple days ago. It is a man with a rakish silk hat, muffled against the cold, braves a storm. And Uranus is in Taurus. So we know right now, while Uranus is at this degree, and especially in square to Venus during this cycle, we are absolutely primed for some type of braving some type of storm in terms of relationships, finances, partnerships, contracts and agreements, resources, supply chains, and even like the earth, like earthquakes, storms, stuff like that itself going on. And then we have, and I actually find this really beautiful, we have Venus today at 16 degrees of Leo, and this Sabian symbol for this degree is the storm ended, all nature rejoices in brilliant sunshine. So we are in an electrical storm too with Uranus. And, this can relate to thoughts as well, and like the psychic field, the psychic energy. But we are in an electrical storm right now, according to the placement of Uranus. But the outcome will be brilliant sunlight. Venus. After a storm, all of nature rejoices in brilliant sunlight. And this is where we are going. And this, an important date, another important date for this progression of these energetics will be December 24th of this year, when Uranus and Saturn will come into an exact square again, and Venus will also be in a conjunction to Pluto. And so these energetics are kind of like getting tied together, but I think that around December 24th, we will start to see the sun coming out after the storm, but it won't be until that there's a big day, March 2nd of 2022. That's a huge day, and that is, I think, when the sunshine will truly come out. But right now, we're starting this process. We know that we're in a storm, and we're muffling against it. We're braving the cold, and it's Uranus, so it's an electrical storm. But the outcome is going to be brilliant sunshine, and Venus tells us that today by her degree at the Cancer new moon, where this journey with the combination of the divine feminine, the divine masculine, fusing, coming together, reintegrating to take down the darkness, is starting this cycle. And Venus says, yes, it's a storm, but when it's over, all of nature will be rejoicing in brilliant sunlight. And Venus is also important right now because Uranus is in Taurus, and that's Venus's sign. So both Uranus and Taurus, Uranus being in Venus's sign, are talking about a storm followed by the sunlight. And remember, Venus right now is in the sign of Leo, which is ruled by the sun. So we are coming into the sun, into the sunlight. It's just we have to go on this journey through the darkness in order to get there. But we have assistance from Uranus, who's putting things right and bringing us back in touch with our true and authentic value, so that we can use that to truly build and live a fulfilling and more significant and a life that's in alignment with what our soul actually came here to do and to be and to evolve into. And we have the help from Neptune, the spiritual connection, this cycle on our path, helping us to get there and to rise above. And we have Chiron helping us with this process of alchemizing our pain, our wounding, into wisdom and mastery. And it's also interesting because the degree of Mars today for the new moon and for his conjunction to Venus right now, even though this is not the exact conjunction, he is at 18 degrees of Leo, and this degree is a chemist conducts an experiment for his students. And chemistry, that's totally ruled by Chiron. And we have the trine. I said earlier it was a square from Mars and Venus to Chiron, and it's not. It's a trine. I misspoke. If I said that, I misspoke. I think I said that. The square is from the new moon to Chiron. There's a square from the new moon to Chiron, but there's a trine from Venus and Mars to Chiron. And trines are very positive aspects that facilitate things and make things happen. And Mars is talking about specifically a chemist conducts an experiment for his students. So it's almost like God or spirit or source code conducting a chemistry experiment for us this cycle, helping us along, spirit helping us along with the trine to the new moon from Neptune and the trine from Chiron to the Venus-Mars conjunction, conducting a chemistry experiment for his students, helping his students go through this process of divine alchemy from wounding into healing and mastery. And it's in regard to both the divine feminine and the divine masculine principles, which are uniting this cycle, like I said, to go on this journey to take down Pluto. And it's very fascinating. And we are in very interesting times, and there are going to be major power shifts over the next year. I expect the family, actually, remember, this is the Cancer cycle, and Cancer, the family is ruled by Cancer, and I actually expect the family over this next year to gain more significance and to become more of a priority into like the power that is in the mother, in the father, in the parents, and in the family. And like that dynamic coming more to the forefront, the power that is inherent in the family unit coming more to the forefront and standing against the power structures, the establishments, the autonomy. I really think that it's going to be the people and the divine feminine and the divine masculine reunited, reintegrated, and standing like a powerful front against any forces that are trying to dominate and take them down. And this is also happening on an internal level. And it's like the inner divine masculine and the inner divine feminine coming together and leading us to this personal authority, this personal autonomy, this different relationship to our own internal self-value, our own internal self-worth, and our own relationship to our inner power, and how we use that to be the masters of our own reality in a relationship with this divine spiritual understanding and connection, so that the true divine path that we're walking can unfold. And remember, we also still have Saturn in a trine to the nodes for this new moon, so we're still building the future this cycle, and going through all of these experiences to help us come to the best place internally so that we can manifest the best outcomes externally. And again, it comes back to personal fulfillment and really stepping up now into our power as individuals and doing what we came here to do, and then each of those contributions being given back to the whole, to the overall good, and creating just a whole different paradigm, a whole different way of operating in terms of the way that human life force works in this reality, in this dimension. And that is the age of Aquarius, the age of knowledge, the age of self-empowerment, the age of wisdom, coming from the age of Pisces, which was the age of follow the leader and needing an expert, a thought controller, somebody to tell you what to do and what to believe and how to act and how to be moral and all of those things. We're moving away from that, and we're going through this process of getting reacquainted with who we really are, what is really important to us, and what is our authentic value that we can contribute to the overall good, and in return just make our lives so much more beautiful, so much more fulfilling, and so much more in alignment with what we truly value and who we truly are. Okay, so we have that, and I just think it's interesting again that Mars is at this chemistry degree in Chiron, rules chemistry in the trine, and interesting. Another thing that I just want to bring up really quick before I go is the degree of Mercury today. Remember, we still have the North Node, we have the nodes in Gemini, and so Mercury is important in terms of understanding the future course, the future direction, the path that we're following along, where our blueprint's pulling us right now. And Mercury today just finally coming out of square with Neptune, the third and final square, coming out of his shadow, about to be moving fully forward, full and clear of the retrograde. He is at, for this cycle, a man declared bankrupt. But the way I'm thinking about this, we do have these big financial upheavals coming this cycle, so it could be relating to that. But the more so the way I'm seeing it is in terms of like being morally bankrupt or mentally bankrupt, or corrupt information being exposed in some type of way, because Mercury rules the media, the news, conversation, communication. And just the way this hits me in the context of these energetics, I do think that this month we might begin to see the moral bankruptcy of the media and of thought leaders and experts and people who we may have trusted in the past, but we've learned have led us astray. I think that might be gaining more exposure, and more people might be learning about the truth of the lack of integrity that operates in the media and in a lot of the different academic expert thought sources at this point in time. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well. So that's basically what I have, you guys, for this report today. It's going to be another big month, although there is somewhat less tension than we had the previous month with the Gemini cycle. That was just really crazy, although we do have this Uranus-Venus square in Taurus, so, and with the conjunction to Mars, so, you know, relationships, partnerships, finances, contracts and agreements, maybe having some really big changes happening with them. Also, again, you know, that whole like financial markets, economies, supply chains, stuff like that could potentially be, you know, really big upheavals, resources, even like I said, storms and earthquakes, stuff like that. And Chiron is so involved. We are still in the midst of this healing journey. But I really do, like I said in the beginning, you know, it's really cool. Like, we really are getting the reuniting of the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies. And they're starting this cycle right now that is really going to do a lot to help us reintegrate back into our wholeness and come into our personal power, become the authorities over our own life, and stand down anything that is enslaving us for any reason, especially if it's enslaving us to something that's out of alignment with our true, authentic value and potential. One more thing today, we have the black moon moving to 30 degrees of Taurus, and this degree is a peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. So even this to me is talking about because you know the black moon is the flip side of Venus, and really the black moon and Venus integrated and united are the divine feminine, and this has been a theme of this entire cycle starting from the new moon in Aries. And the black moon is talking about, you know, being on parade and making a show and, you know, being regal and royal. And Venus is also in Leo, talking about the sunlight coming out. And so the black moon and Venus are both speaking about an enrichment of the feminine qualities, the feminine nature. And then we have Mars there too, taking us on this journey through the underworld, and he will be supporting Venus the entire way. And this reintegration of principles that is starting this cycle is what is going to help bring us back into our truth, into our power, into our authenticity, and into our own personal self-mastery as we proceed through the rest of this year and into next year. So I'm wishing everybody a beautiful new moon in Cancer. Again, if you guys want to know how these energetics will be affecting you specifically, check out my video for the 12 signs, the 12 sign forecast. Check your ascendant first, because that will be most accurate, and then also your sun and your moon. And if you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, leave me comments, ring the bell ring the bell if you want notifications every time I upload a video, and tune in tomorrow for my astrological update of the day. See you later, guys. Bye.